It started like any ordinary day at the 17th precinct. Coffee brewing, officers walking in and out, radios are buzzing with traffic stops and petty crimes. But behind the everyday rhythm, a storm was brewing, not outside, but inside the walls of the station itself. A storm born of ego, pride, and a moment of disrespect that would flip the entire department upside down. This is the story of how one man's silence shook a city, and how another man's voice nearly buried his own career. The confrontation officer, Ryan McConnell, wasn't new to the badge. Years in the force. Decorated in his early years, respected and feared by some of his colleagues. However, over time, Ryan began to view people as objects. Instead, he saw suspects, threats, inconveniences. So when a man walked into the precinct that Monday morning, tall, confident, and unapologetic, it didn't take long for Ryan to get agitated. You can't just walk in here demanding to see the captain. Who do you think you are? I asked for the watch commander. That's all. I'll wait. No. You'll tell me who you are, or you'll get the hell out. The tension escalated fast. Two men, inches from each other's faces. Then, in a flash, Ryan leaned forward and spit right into the man's face. Gasps echoed across the room. Young officers froze. Even the admin clerk looked up from her desk, horrified. The man didn't react violently. He didn't shout. He simply wiped his face, looked Ryan in the eye, and said 7 words. You just made the worst mistake possible. Then he turned and walked away. The announcement the next morning. The 17th precinct was buzzing. Word had spread that a new interim police chief would be arriving, handpicked by the mayor's office to clean up the department after a recent corruption scandal. Nobody knew the name. Nobody knew what to expect. But at 9:01 a.m., the entire department gathered in the main briefing room. Captain. Ramirez took the podium, captain's voice. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce your new chief of police, Marcus D. Walker. And in walked the same man Ryan had spat on the day before. Only now, he wore the stars of a chief, a crisp, dark blue uniform, golden badge, commanding presence, and silence. Pure, heavy silence filled the room. Ryan's face went pale. Who is Chief Marcus Walker? Marcus D. Walker wasn't just a new chief. He was a force of nature in law enforcement, born and raised in Atlanta, veteran of the Marine Corps. Graduated top of his class at Quantico, he spent 22 years in federal law enforcement, investigating dirty cops, political rackets, and broken systems. He was calm, measured, but never weak. He'd turned down 3 offers to lead departments in crisis before finally saying yes. Why this one? Because he knew something others didn't. This wasn't just about reforming a department. It was about confronting the culture that allowed men like Ryan McConnell to think the badge meant power without consequence. The office meeting. Later. That day, Ryan got the call. Admin voice, Chief Walker wants to see you in his office. Now. He tried to act tough, tried to justify it to himself. It wasn't personal. He didn't identify himself. I was just doing my job. But the moment he stepped inside the chief's office, the truth hit him like a freight train. Chief Walker didn't yell, didn't rage. He just looked. Chief's voice, quiet but firm. You looked me in the eye, spoke to me like trash, and spit in my face. Not because you didn't know who I was, but because of who you thought I wasn't. Ryan said nothing. Chief Walker stood up. You still have a job today because I believe in transformation, but you're on notice, not because I'm angry, but because this department cannot afford your version of justice. Rebuilding the force over the next few months, things began to change. The old systems, the handshakes behind closed doors, disappeared. Every officer attended training on bias and de-escalation. Body cameras became mandatory. Complaints were investigated swiftly and transparently. The community was invited to roundtables, ride-alongs, and even oversight panels. Some officers quit, others adapted, and one of them was Ryan. At first he resisted, grumbled during meetings, rolled his eyes at reforms, but little by little, he began to notice something. People weren't afraid of them anymore. They were talking, opening up, trusting again. And then came the moment. Late-night patrol. A tense call. A young black teenager is accused of shoplifting. Old Ryan would have cuffed him in seconds, but this time, he listened. Turned out the boy had a receipt. The store clerk had profiled him. No arrest, no harm, no humiliation, just a quiet, "You're free to go." Full circle. 6 months after that unforgettable morning, Chief Walker stood once again in the same briefing room, this time to announce his departure. His mission was never to stay forever. He came to spark a flame and let it grow on its own. As he said his final words, officers stood, applauded. Some even held back tears, and among them stood Ryan, no longer full of pride, no longer blind. After the speech, Ryan approached the chief. "Ryan, quiet. I was wrong. You didn't just change the department, you changed me," Chief Walker, smiling. "That's what leadership does. It doesn't just command respect, it earns it. The badge means more power isn't about rank. It's about responsibility. And respect, it can't be demanded, only earned. In a world where uniforms can divide, it's the person behind the badge that defines what justice really looks like." Quiet, final line. Some men carry a badge, others carry a legacy.